Welcome to another episode of One on One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week from Armored Saint, John Bush. The new album is Win, hands down, definitely going to be on all the writers' top 10 lists of the year. And on the second part, 'cause this is a two interview episode, we've got Frank Bello of Anthrax, and of course, Frank and John both talk about their time in Anthrax and about each other. We also got some news that Frank was in a car accident, so listen for that. Joining me this week also to talk about all of this is from Talking Metal, Mark Striegel. Good day, Mark.
Hey, Mitch. Thanks for having me. And wow, that is big news. I had just spoken to Frank like within the last week, 2 weeks, and had not heard about the car accident. So breaking news. Wow, is
Yeah.
it bad, or I guess should we maybe just have him tell us?
Yeah, just stick around and listen to the interview because he does go into it in detail and he talks
Okay.
about what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of the therapy that he's going for to get into touring shape. So that's an interesting thing. And it's fun to have both these guys on there. It was completely accidental. I just happened to have both interviews in the same week. And John talks about Win hands down, and so of course I said to him during the interview, does it bother you that the albums that you played on with Anthrax are no longer represented live? And of course he gave an answer to that, and he mentioned in that answer that he doesn't speak to Charlie and Frank anymore, really. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. I mean, these guys were like blood brothers for so many years. And so when I had Frankie on the line, I said, hey, listen, do you miss playing those songs? Because Only and Room for One More and
Right.
I mean, Fueled. I mean, those were great, great songs. And of course, Frankie
Yeah.
says, well, hey, listen, and he gave me an answer to that. And I'm being sort of vague because I actually want you to go listen to the interviews to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
the answers to those questions. And I said, hey, John, and I said, listen, these are my words, but it appeared to me that John is sort of hurt that you haven't called him in 5, 10 years. And he was sort of taken aback by it, and then he goes, "Wait a minute." And so, get into the Frank interview and listen for that answer. Who knows?
Cool.
Maybe I'll get those two to have lunch next week or something.
Right. Yeah.
That'll be kind of fun. But it's a great episode, and which is why also we're going to keep the talk ups really, really short because focus on what John said, focus on what Frank said. New Armored Saint is Win hands down, which I know, Mark, you've bought.
Excellent. Yeah, love it. Listened to it on Spotify, and I was like, "Wow, this is so good." Have to have the CD from my car, so
Yeah.
definitely bought it right off the Metal Blade site. Excellent record.
Yeah. Do you agree with me that when we get to Christmas time and we all do all the top 10 best albums of the year, that is definitely going to be on a lot of the websites and
Oh
writers'
yes,
spot. I mean, some might put it number one, but who knows where it's going to end up on my list? But it's somewhere between 1 and 10. That is for sure.
yeah. You'll see it on my list. I would bet you
Yeah.
see it on Eddie Trunk's list. It's this very strong record.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure the writers at Brave Words and Blabbermouth and Loudwire and all those places are going to say, yeah, this is hands down one of the
Yeah,
best albums, right?
right.
Pun semi intended. And then of course Frank Bello updates us. They're doing those tour with the tour with Motörhead. They've got a new album coming out. We talk about how they have 20 songs in the can and how they're going to whittle that down to sort of the top 10 or 11 or 12. Um, and of course, listen for the keywords in there. Fire in the belly. As you listen to the Frank interview, you'll fully understand what that phrase means, and eventually, hopefully, you'll turn it into a hashtag on Twitter. Fire in the belly. So there you go. So with that, here is John Bush. Let's talk about the new Armored Saint album, Win Hands Down. It is absolutely fantastic. Easily one of the best metal albums of 2015. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, it really is. Talk to me a little bit about how it came together.
Well, it came together in kind of a casual way, to be honest. So usually is the way we kind of function at this point. It really is as simple as Joey, who's the primary catalyst of the band in many ways. he said I had a couple ideas, and we never finished one of the songs that was kind of a leftover from the La Raza sessions, which was the song that ended up becoming That Was Then, Way Back When. So he goes, we want to work on a couple things, and it's really that kind of lighthearted almost. And he said he had a couple songs that he thought were pretty close to being completed, and he makes these pretty elaborate demos that sound like really good records, so they're really fun to work with. And so I said, yeah, send them to me, and he did, and then I just started kind of listening to it and kind of humming some ideas and seeing if any of the lyrical content that I have like a book of phrases and lines and words and what have you. I always consult it when I'm working, and I just kind of look to see if anything was maybe working with some of the music, and I just kind of got the ball rolling. And we would write a couple songs, and I'd go to his house and demo them, and once we felt like they were pretty good and fairly close to being complete, then we'd move on to another couple songs. And by the time we got to the 9, well, we actually wrote 10, but once we had that many songs, we thought, okay, now we feel like we have enough material and we can make a record. So that's kind of the process. It starts off pretty casual with not a major grand plan behind it. It's just as simple as just writing songs. So.
Is there any pressure when making an album? Because Armored Saint seems to, float in and out of touring cycles and out of albums. You haven't done anything in 5 years. Do you sort of just think we need to move this thing forward, or we need to sort of stay in the classical sound?
Well, for me as a musician, and I don't want to come off sounding like pompous or arrogant or somebody who I pretty much would hate. So I don't want to be that guy. But I love lots of music, and I'm sure many metal musicians do. Certainly everybody I'm sure is likes various things, and has a lot of interest in lots of music. I'm certainly not a lone person in that world, but sometimes I think that when it comes to metal, that there seems to be this kind of self-imposed limitation that people actually put on themselves, and I'm unwilling to do that. I love metal. I love hard rock. My roots are fully entrenched in that, and nothing still gets me more psyched than listening to Stay in Class and Judas Priest or Jailbreak, or it's just that's what set the tone for my life. But that being said, I do like lots of different music. I listen to lots of different music, and I try to interpret how I listen to that music, and I try to motivate that into the way I create music and write lyrics and create melodies and write words. And I don't want to feel like, okay, this is what this is. Armored Saint, it's this type of band, and those are my boundaries. And I think more than ever on this record, we told each other that we weren't going to do that. And I think we're our own kind of filter system. We feel like if something is out of the realm of the band, then we'd probably be pretty honest with ourselves and say, okay, maybe that doesn't work. But when it comes to at least having the mindset of saying, let's try anything, we can do anything, then I kind of think that opens you up to at least thinking that way. And that was the mindset here. It was like, I don't want to feel like we have to kind of have this certain style of in our mind of what we should be, because I think that's just, like I said, it's kind of self-imposed limitations, and I don't want to do that. To me, it would be kind of unfulfilling as a musician to do that. So,
what is the current status of Armored Saint? I mean, in the last 15 years, you've put out 3 albums. Is there something that we're next year or 2016, you want to get back into an album every 2 years and tour more extensively? Because there isn't a lot of touring. There isn't a lot of albums coming out. Is it almost a side project at this point?
Well, I mean, I don't really think of it that deeply. I certainly, when you think of 15 years and 3 records, Certainly that is not a very rapid pace by any standards, and I'm fully aware of that.
Right.
The reality is, when we started 15 years ago, at that point I was 37. Now I'm 52. So that's also, kind of existing there in the minds that we're obviously not getting younger. We're not going the other direction. We're aging. So, there's a slight factor with that. And time is slightly not on our side, so to speak. But by the same token, I feel like it's all about, trying to make the most quality of music, and to go and say, okay, well, we're going to try to do something more frequent and have it be substandard just because we want to hurry up and make records. I don't think that it's just not the way we kind of worked over the last 15 years when I've kind of resumed doing stuff the same. Remember, after Revelation came out in 2000, I was technically still in Anthrax. So I was in Anthrax for another 4 years, and made another record with them. So it wasn't like I went back to Armored Saint full throttle, and we were back together officially, and that was the mindset. It wasn't. So I think it's just, I don't really want to think about it too much. I am enjoying playing some shows right now. We've done some really fun gigs where they've been well attended, and shows that were the right gigs for Armored Saint, because believe me, there's been so many shows in our history that we've done bad shows, and poorly attended shows, and just shows that we went, God, that was demoralizing. So taking nothing away again from people who came, I appreciate it. We've always had the mindset that, whether it's 5 or 50,000 people, we're going to go and rock and do our best. But we're also, I'm just being honest, I make the joke. I remember we played a show in Peabody's Down Under in Cleveland, Ohio in 1986. There was a downpour of rain, and Delirious Nomad had been out a few months, and I think the paid attendance was like 52 people, and it's just a show that's ingrained in my mind, because it's like, we saw one of our crew guys. He was dressed like the Michelin Man to go get food for us, and he was trying to get through this rainstorm, and we're watching him out the window, and I'm like, God, look at that. And so I always have this mind. Plus, Soul Asylum opened, which is really weird, because they were kind of like a punk band then, and they went on to be what they did. So then they were opening band for us. But so I always remember that show. But the point is that we played that gig, and it was lame, and it was not a uplifting gig. And this was in 1986, when we were all about 22 years old. But we knew then that was lame. Well, what I keep saying is, I don't want to do that same gig while I'm 52. Now I'm just a moron if I do that. I can't. I'm just unwilling to do that. So right now we've kind of worked hard with our agent, and we're doing these shows with Saxon, and they've been great, and they're an awesome classic band, and we did shows with Queensryche in Europe and festivals. So we're trying to keep things on a morale high, and if that is the case, and then it's fun to play, but it's important to keep that, and to play shows that are going to be ones where you look back and go, okay, that was good. And that's kind of, without sounding like we deserve it, but at the same time, that's what we deserve. Like, we don't need to go out and play in front of 40 people, because it's just, we did that a million times, and it's just not fun, quite frankly.
No, in fact, I would love to see you play more festivals like, Heavy Montreal up here in Montreal, and Wacken, and that's where Armored Saint belongs. You're right about that. It's not a club. You mentioned...
Yeah, we actually were talking about trying to get on that Heavy Montreal show. I don't know, if you have any powers, push it through, because we were trying to get on that gig, and our agent was talking about it. So it'd be fun to do that.
2016, there's certainly a
Let's
chance.
do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Anthrax, and you joined Anthrax in '92, Sound of White Noise, Stomp, Volume 8. Incredible body of work that you made with the band. The band these days has sort of chosen to ignore those. Is there a sort of sadness to that when you see them play live and they're not doing that stuff? Is it sad to see those songs sort of just disappear from the live venue?
Well, I understand. So I don't think it makes me sad per se. Like I said, I get it, especially coming from Joey Belladonna's place. I
Sure.
mean, why would he at this really point? I get it. There are a couple songs that I wish they would play because I think they're great songs and I think the people would like to hear them.
Absolutely.
So, and I would like them to, but I guess, like I said, I understand why they don't. So, I think it's as simple as that. I don't really, I don't think it makes me sad. I do think that, we did make some really cool records and, they're there and people can listen to them and they can always, check them out. And, they may never ever, in the history of of rock and roll, they never may get the same kind of attention that Anthrax records did from the 80s because, Anthrax made their mark in the 80s and then everything changed in the 90s and, singers changed and it just may never ever have this, they may never ever get that same viewpoint from the public. But, it is life. It's not something that keeps me awake at night or anything. I think that, I always tell people you can like both eras of the band. It's not like you have to choose one or the other. You can say you like both. I love Sabbath with Ozzy, but I enjoyed Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules. Back in Black is probably one of the classic AC/DC records, but I prefer Bon Scott. But it's like,
right.
So you can like both. You don't have to choose one or the other. That's what I always tell people.
Technically in about 2005 with Anthrax, you weren't fired and you didn't quit. You were sort of, if you look at it in a labor relation kind of way, you were laid off. Right? I mean, that would be sort of the technical term for it. Did you find the handling of that situation a bit odd? I mean, would it have been better just to say, listen, we're doing this reunion, you're fired, that's it? Or should you have just quit? I mean, it seemed kind of weird the way it was done.
Yeah, it was definitely not one of the best handled situations in the world. I mean, we were doing a tour of South America, but it already had been kind of leaked that the reunion was going to happen. And of course I knew,
right,
but we never had like an official conversation about it. So we were doing interviews in South America on this tour and people are asking about the reunion. And then band members are going, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And kind of making the journalists feel stupid about something they already know about. And I'm just sitting there going, well, this is awkward. And, so instead of just going, well, yeah, we're flirting with that idea and we might do it, or there was a way to handle it. It just wasn't handled right certainly. No uncertain terms, it was not handled correctly. So, it's whatever. It's you're looking back, it's certainly not a fond time in my life. There was a manager that was handling the band, and he actually came and went amongst many managers in the Anthrax world. But he was talking to me about how it was going to go and explaining this to me. And this is some new guy who just came in on board. And I was in the band for 12, 13 years at that point. And I'm like, dude, do not talk to me like this. Like, show me some respect. Come on, man. He's like going, this is how many rice you're going to get, and these are the beans you're going to get. Like, I'm going, what are these fucking metaphors you're using? You're an idiot, So, but, it really wasn't his fault because he was kind of put in a position to do it. Instead of, it should have been a conversation between Charlie, Frankie, and Scott and I. Of like, and then look at it. If they would have said, we think we're going to do this, we think we're ready to do this, I probably would have said, we'll do it. I don't want to stand in the way of that and didn't do it. So, it could have been really that simplified, in all honesty.
It could have been. Were you fully expecting to come back after this reunion tour, like they do 2 years? And then, I mean, was that what you had in mind? No,
that was never my idea. Once I left, I thought I was gone for a while. I wasn't going to resume. And that was one of the reasons I tried to convey about, the whole thing would have ended up being with worship music. Because, for me, then I started to kind of do this voiceover job, and it was really lucrative at the time, and it was happening. And my daughter was only like a year old, and I was kind of enjoying being home at that point and helping my wife with the business that we got. And, I was just like, okay, this is my life now, and I was embracing it. So I was fine. And when they kind of said, okay, well, you want to come back? I said, it wasn't out of any kind of spite. I just was like, no, I don't really want to. So I didn't, and then they went on to get Dan Nelson and do that. And then that kind of, they made that record. They finished that record. It was completed, mixed, everything. And then that's when they were going, well, we're going to shelf it and we want you to do it. And at that point, what I've said in numerous interviews, but I guess I'll tell you one more time, is that for me, and this is nothing against Dan Nelson, I don't know that guy. He might be the nicest guy. I don't know. And nothing against him at all. But, I always have to battle and kind of establish myself as a singer to replace Joey Belladonna, which I have no problem with. Joey Belladonna, obviously did great with Anthrax and established himself extremely well and was for the most part, the main singer of Anthrax. So I get it, and I have no problems with that. I have nothing, almost respect for Joey on that. But to go and kind of redo a record that this other guy did and have possible scrutiny against that person, that's where I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. No way. I'm not, I draw the line on that one. I can't. My ego is going to, and I'll say it straight up, my ego is going to say negative to that. And that's why I said no. So, and it didn't really matter about the material. It was kind of irrelevant. I mean, they could have written the wall. It wouldn't matter to me. It was like, I'm not doing a record where we're gonna go have scrutiny against people who heard Dan Nelson sing these songs live, and maybe that record leads. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not competing on that level. I don't want to. I just don't want to.
Yeah, and if I can interject, from a fan's perspective, my perspective, it's almost insulting that they say, "Hey, we'll just remix this, pull off the vocals, and you can just lay some on top." I mean, that's sort of not how an album is made. The vocals sort of have to fit the music, and the music goes to the vocal. I mean, there's an interplay, and here was more like, we'll just dump the vocals and throw you on top. And it was like, you can't do that to John. I mean, come on.
Well,
come on.
I didn't participate in anything, and I always had in previous records. And, granted, if I would have written a few songs, and I think they even did. And, but, it was just the mindset of, this isn't, no. I even said, okay, if you pay me this amount of money, I'll do it. And I gave like some crazy figure because I knew I wasn't doing it out of the love of my soul. I was doing it for
paycheck.
I was just doing it for another reason. So that's like, well, then you're going to pay me for it. And then that's when Benante got all livid on me and freaked out. And we still haven't spoken since then. So, but, whatever. I mean, I think Joey coming back and making the record, that was a logical decision because, fans, remember, I had just made We've Come For You All. It was only a few years before that. So it wasn't like some new, there wasn't some big lapse of time between records of John Bush. I made the last record, and it was a great record. And so, there's no reason for, there to be some excitement that I'm doing it because Joey coming back after not making a record in 20 years. Now that would be excitement. That would be a story. And that's why it was right that he came in and did it. And that made sense.
Agreed. Now, I don't want to spend the rest of the interview talking about Anthrax, but I would just finish with this on the Anthrax front. How is the relationship? Because I know on the new Armored Saint, you have Pearl a Day that comes on for a song, Scott Ian's wife. I'm assuming the relationship must be good because she wouldn't come there if you weren't talking to her husband. But you just mentioned that you're not talking to Charlie. So in general, how are things with the band?
Well, I do talk to Scott. I do see Scott on occasion, and he lives in L.A. Joey Vera and Tracy are very close to Scott and Pearl. And so they, come to family functions and things of that nature. So, and I do see Scott. I played Pearl's 40th birthday party, and we did Safe Home, and it was real fun. And so I have a relationship with Scott because I see him more often, but I have not talked to Charlie or Frankie. I haven't spoken to them since literally that time. And it's weird and kind of probably sucks, but they haven't made an effort to call me, and I haven't made an effort to call them either, I guess. And there was some weird stuff that happened when Charlie's mom passed away, and I actually did reach out to him, but maybe I had the wrong number or something. I don't know. And so he was, I guess, bent out of shape about that. But I did actually do it. I really did. I'm not going to lie about that.
Right.
And, was obviously when you get to personal stuff, all the other stuff is meaningless. But,
Right.
whatever. It is what it is. And, it's, I mean, there's no reason for me to be okay with Scott and not okay with those guys, because I had a relationship that was the same with all of them. Not just, it wasn't like me and Scott were closer and those guys weren't. We were all close at one point. So,
bit of a shame, actually.
This is where it is. So that's life.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's a bit of a shame. I mean, you spent whatever it was, 12, 13 years, brothers in arms in a sense, and then they just sort of turn off the tap. It's a bit of a shame, but okay.
I mean, but, it's like, relationships are like that, and there's no real rhyme or reason sometimes. Sometimes there's, you might have a past girlfriend that you can be friends with, and then there's others where it's like, well, it just doesn't feel right. So, I mean, I look at it as kind of maybe like as easy as that. It might be just that sometimes it takes a little more time. Yes, it has been time, but sometimes it takes more time, and whatever, it's all good.
Well, hopefully, before it's all said and done, the guys can get back on stage and do a couple of songs, and there can be one last hurrah of the John Bush era, because it's a great, great era. You mentioned the voiceover work, and I wanted to ask you about that, because there's a lot of youngsters and stuff that grow up thinking that you have to strap on a guitar and be on a stage. That's how you make it in the music business. And there is this other side of it where there's voiceover work, there's movie work, there's how did you get into that? And do you still do it?
I do a lot of. I've done some work. It's it's very competitive, unfortunately, to get jobs these days, because number one is you have a lot of big time actors doing voiceover, and if it's between Robert Downey Jr. and John Bush, it's pretty much. I don't think I'm going to win that one.
Right.
So, but it's fun, and I really like doing it. And I figured, I'm using my voice singing, so I might as well just kind of channel this whole thing into that. And it was pretty successful for a while. But it's kind of has a feast or famine kind of thing to it, and sometimes you're hot, and then other times you're cold, and that's just the way it's kind of it works. That's the nature of that business. So, but I enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun. I've done some things recently where I did a couple documentary for my buddy on metal that he did, and another thing with I have a bunch of McDonald's in Southern California. They have this channel, and I did it. So I don't know, whatever. It's work, and that's how I look at it. But I do enjoy it because it's me speaking, and I think there's an art form to it.
Yeah, there really is, and it's surprising, the people that that do this. I mean, for example, Robert Mason, who sings with Warrant, he did a Disney show where he was sort of the voice of the singer, and you don't realize that people are doing this. You've done a lot of albums with Armored Saint and with Anthrax. No John Bush solo record. Is that something that just doesn't interest you?
Just the idea of John Bush solo record sounds comical to me. So. I don't know how serious I could take that. I've always been kind of like the guy in the band. I even joke that I'm more of a bass player when it comes to bands than a lead singer. Of course, I think I'm a good lead singer, and I think I'm a good front man. But
you're very humble, by the way, because you're not just a good lead singer. You're a fantastic, great, whatever leads. I mean, you're just fantastic.
Oh, well, thanks, dude. I guess I'm joking that, my personality is a little bit more like a bass player, where I'm a little bit more subdued and, kind of a little more mellow, and, not always, of course. I can be a freak at times too, but I'm not, I don't have the typical lead singer aura to me. So, I don't think I'd really run with my own project. I've entertained the idea one day of maybe doing a couple of shows, certainly nothing more than a handful of like the Anthrax material one day, somewhere, somehow, but, putting a band together and doing, a couple of shows with all those records. But it's not something I'm really thinking about today.
Right.
I thought, one day it could be fun to do. I'm certainly, really proud of what we just did with Sing, and, it feels right, and everything feels good with Armored Saint. It's very family related because we do have a friendship that goes back so far, and so it's a cool atmosphere right now, and it's very fulfilling at this point. So I'm satisfied with that. I'm really happy with where things are at with that. But anything's possible. I'm open minded to anything.
If you ever did do one, you chose, would it be a metal album, or do you have some like weird, country fantasy that you want to explore? I mean, would you stay to metal, or is there like another side that you'd like to show?
I don't know. I mean, I'm such a big fan of like old school R&B and soul and a lot of the '70s music that black singers did.
Right.
From the OJs to the Gap Band to Stevie Wonder to Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, some of those singers and those groups are some of my favorite singers. I always say that Maurice White and Levi Stubbs and those guys are as important to me as like Halford and Bob Scott and stuff. So I mean. And I really kind of model my style after that as well. So I'm really fond of that. But actually doing a record like that, and I don't know, I mean, I would love to do it. I don't know if anyone would care. And, I don't know. Again, you'd have to go back to doing something for the love of for what it is and not really think too much about what would be the end result of that. So, I don't know. Maybe one day I go, hey, I'm going to make that rock/soul record that I've been mimicking on my whole life. So.
Right. John, absolute pleasure. Always a good time talking to you. All the best with the new Armored Saint. Wins hands down. Definitely, like I said before, one of the best metal albums of 2015. It's going to be in a lot of writers' top tens this year. I just know that. And it's glad having the band back. It's been 5 years. It's too long. We can't wait that long for another one.
Oh, well, thank you, man. That's very kind. Thanks for the real kind words. Just try to get us on that Heavy Montreal show. That'd be cool. I don't think Armored Saint played Montreal. I think there might have been the one and only time was with Watson Metallica, if I'm not mistaken. So we have a lot of ground to make up.
Holy crap! I think that was like 1982. 83?
It was 85. It was 85.
Yeah. I mean, it's way, way, way overdue.
No doubt.
There you have it, folks. My interview with John Bush of Armored Saint. Win, hands down, is the new album. Definitely, hands down favorite for 2015. But let's get over to Frank Bello of Anthrax. Boy, the way he's talking about the new Anthrax material, and they've got 20 songs ready. They are in the mixing stage. It's probably going to be on our 2016 best of list. Mark, you spoke to Frank recently. Did he convey the same sense of excitement about this music?
Yeah, he said he's just so excited to play the music. He's so excited by the music. He said it's what they did with worship music, that this new record takes it to the next level, whatever that means. I'm not sure, but it sounds promising, and I'm very excited to hear it. And there is a new track out. It was done for the Game of Thrones mixtape with that HBO put out. I think it's the mixtape 2. It's like I don't know what it was. I want to say it's like the Watch the Throne, but that's not it. It's the Game of Thrones mixtape. It's on iTunes, and Anthrax has a brand new song on it. Mastodon's on there, Killswitch Engage, and some hip hop. There's a wide variety of different music on it, but Anthrax definitely has a new song out on iTunes that's worth checking out. And wow, if the album is anything like this new song, it's going to be just great.
Yeah, they've really been putting out good music in the last sort of 15 years. Worship music being one of the best albums, I guess, of 2011 roughly. It's so nice to have Joey back in the band, and it's so nice to have the guys excited about making new music. Because, like, listen, like Kiss, like Metallica, like this is one of these bands that could just tour on their past glories and get the same amount of people out at shows without having to make any effort. And it's not only nice to see them making the effort, but also getting a real joy about having created something new, like a real excitement. And you'll hear it all through this interview with Frankie. He is genuinely sort of like giddy
Yeah.
about this new music, and so listen for that. And listen, he talks about this car accident that he had about 3 weeks ago that may or may not have prevented him from doing the tours that they have. They've got this Motorhead tour going through North America. They've got the motorboat, Motorhead's motorboat coming up at the end of the month. Then they go off to Europe with Slayer. It would have just been tragic if Frank was not part of that. So he mentions that, and I will say for myself, it is nice to know that he is healthy and ready to basically kick your ass on the road, because he's the funnest part of
Absolutely.
an Anthrax show. And again, no disrespect to Charlie and Scott, no, but when Anthrax plays, and I said this to Frank, you just got to sit there and watch him, because he's throwing up his hands and he's screaming, and man's a maniac on stage. It's fantastic.
Right, absolutely. I'm totally psyched to see Anthrax in right in my backyard here in New Jersey. They're going to be a big part of the food truck and rock carnival in about 2 weeks' time here in New Jersey. Slash is playing, Stone Temple Pilots, Clutch, Faster Pussycat, Slaughter. It's going to be a great weekend. So many great bands, including Anthrax.
Yeah, absolutely. It's too bad you don't get them with Motorhead, but hey, it's
Yeah,
Anthrax.
not in Jersey. Yeah.
It's all good. So let's stop talking. Let's get right into this. Here is Frank Bello of Anthrax talking all about the new album, his accident, John Bush, Charlie Benente, the Motorhead tour. Here is Frank Bello. We are talking with Frank Bello of Anthrax, one of the big four, right? Yeah, Frank, always a pleasure to talk to you. It's been many years from the
Thanks,
Pollywog
Mitch.
Festival in Quebec back in the day, and all those wonderful times.
It's been a while, yeah. It's been a good run. I keep saying, hopefully, it's been a good run, and I keep enjoying it.
Yeah, so let's get into all of this. I'm looking at the discography. Back in the day, 93 Persistence, 90 I should say Persistence, 93 Sound of White Noise, and Stomp, then Volume 8, and then all of a sudden, whoops, we've got 5 years until We've Come For You All, then 8 years for Worship Music. We are at 4 years waiting for the next new Anthrax. What is the update there?
Update there. We're in mixing. I can proudly say, and I'm as I say this, I'm really psyched just because it's been nonstop for the band. We did over 200. I don't even remember the actual amount of shows we did for the last record, Worship Music. We're in mixing just because it took us a while to get off the road. Every time, and thankfully, look, nobody's more humble than thankful than us right now because of what Worship did for us.
Right.
A lot of people said it was our best record to date. We couldn't be, after 30 some odd years hearing that from a lot of reviewers and fans, you couldn't be more humbled and say, wow, thankfully, people are saying Anthrax is back, and we just want to make sure we have the right record, and we think we do now. So we're now right now we're in mixing stages, man, and we couldn't be more excited about what's going on.
That's great. Now, Worship Music was a struggle for the band. You started off
Yeah.
with one vocalist, tried another. Joey came back, finished it, and it absolutely is brilliant. How is this record coming along? I mean, you're in the mixing stages, but has it been a struggle, or has it just been we're on tour?
Okay. I tell you, the only thing that's been a struggle is just coming off the road. Hey, look, the good thing is it's nice to be wanted. Every time we thought we were in the writing stages, people asked us to do more touring, which made more sense than not. So we never been a band to write off the road. So we finally took the time, and I'm telling you, man, it's been a really great time. It's like a rejuvenation of the band. It's a very, very hungry band. I could say that from within the band. It's a very hungry band. I think the band has tapped into some a great chemistry that we have going writing wise. It's just a really good feeling within the band. Everybody's getting along really well, and just seeing the generations of fans coming out. I mean, we have this whole new generation along with our fans. There's a whole younger generation coming in that's just finding out about us, maybe from the Big Four, whatever it may be, from all the touring we did. Well, finally, it's paying off from all that touring, and we're getting a lot of new fans, which is great. So there's a whole
a shot right. It's giving us a kick in our step. Really, it's really a great time.
You know, you mentioned that you've been like this touring band at this part or at this time in your career, you know, whatever 30 years in or whatever the exact number is. Why bother with new music? Why not just go and just tour? I mean, obviously you can sell out shows, you can play all the hits. Why sort of burden yourself with coming up with new material?
Because we're songwriters. I mean, at the end, that's what we started this for, is to get this, whatever is inside of this angst, whatever you want to call it, that's inside the fire in your belly, whatever term you want to use, that has to come out. I think the fans want and deserve new music. And let's face it, from worship music, how many songs do we play off that last record? We play a lot of songs off that last record.
Absolutely.
For a new record, 30 years in, people want to hear new music. So we want to play new music. So it all makes sense at this stage in our life. And to be quite honest, I'm so psyched about the new stuff we have coming out. And I have to say this, not even as a salesperson in the band. If you like worship, man, I think we've taken another step up. We brought it to another level. I'm so psyched to play the new stuff we have coming out. It's just a challenge, and I love nothing more than that, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. And I think you might have just accidentally named the album "Fire in the Belly." That's the perfect name for it, right there.
Yeah. You know, there is a lot of fire in the belly. Obviously, it's not the title, but
No, I know.
There's a burning ambition in this band. We have this fire. I mean, it's a very hungry band. That's as honest as I can be with you, bro. It's a very hungry band. We know what we have. We're very lucky to be in the position we're in. There's a buzz on Anthrax again, thankfully, and we feel very fortunate, and we just want to make sure we put out the best music we could, and that's what it's about, man.
Yeah, so let's talk touring also.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing these shows with Motörhead coming up, and you're also doing the Motorboat.
Yeah.
We know that Lemmy has had his issues. Is there sort of a plan B, for example, if Lemmy cannot finish the upcoming shows? Will Anthrax play a longer set? Is there a plan B, or sort of how do you sort of see the shows coming up?
Well, you have to understand, we're the same management as Motörhead. And
Right.
We're also very, very close with Motörhead. They're very much family to us.
Absolutely.
From Lemmy to the guys, we're very close to those guys, and even their crew. We're very, very close. So we know the story, and he's feeling great. He played, like we were just talking about a little while ago. He's feeling great. So he's back. I mean, it was a lung infection apparently. So, I mean, look, I'm all about it. If there is a plan B, then we'll deal with it. I'd rather think positively. And quite honestly, I know Lemmy, man, he's going to want to go for it. So I think he's going to be fine. And we'll just deal with it day to day as it comes. But right now, I look at it as it's all positive. He's going to kick ass as usual. I'm excited because I get to see Motörhead for free every night on the side of the stage. So it's all good to me, man.
Yeah, isn't that great? Now, you've had your own issues with touring in terms of Charlie Benante. The last time you were in Montreal, I think John was there instead of Charlie. He's been sort of in and out. How is he doing? Will he be on these dates, and is he okay?
As we speak right now, I think his carpal tunnel thing with his wrist, that's a whole drummer thing,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's settled for right now, but who knows when it comes back. Quite honestly, I just know what my manager tells me, and Charlie really is having a problem again. You know, you can't, that's stuff that just hurts a lot of people. And obviously, thank God we have John Denny to come in when he does, because he's a great player and a great dude. So, but right as we speak today, we start our tour on Friday. Charlie's in. So.
Okay, so good. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
And in terms of yourself, I mean, you give one of the most visually exciting performances. I mean, you own that stage. You're running up, hands up in the air, screaming. As we all get a little bit older, is it more and more difficult for you to do that?
Well, number one, thank you for the compliment, Mitch, sincerely.
Yeah.
And look, my thing is that I've always had to do, it's something that comes out of the music that sparks that. And quite honestly, you and I were just talking. I just came out of the chiropractor just now because nobody really knows this. I was involved in an accident a few weeks ago. Thankfully, I'm okay. But I did have to get an adjustment. And look, I'm a yoga guy. To be quite honest, I've been studying yoga for 5 years, and that really gets my back and everything else really in the shape that I need to be in, quite honestly. Even at an older age. But right now, dude, I feel I feel great. I can't wait to play. As we speak, I sound like I'm overly excited, but I'm so psyched to play, man.
Well, but I mean, not only do you sound it, but when I've seen you play and when you see you on YouTube and whatever, you're always excited to play. I mean, I honestly, I've seen probably 15 Anthrax shows in my life. I really spend my
Cool.
time just staring at you, and I don't mean that in any kind of weird way, but you're sort of like the Gene Simmons of Anthrax. You're just the fun guy to watch. No offense to anybody else, by the way.
No, I appreciate that, dude. And that's a great compliment. You know what? It's always been my thing. I just feel very, very lucky and fortunate. I know how lucky I am to make a living out of playing music. Look, I'm a guy that grew up in the Bronx who got very lucky and fortunate to be able to play for a living, play music for a living. I can't fake it, man. I have to give 110 all the time. I can't not. And that's not even being Mr. Rockstar guy. I just can't not give everything. Even if I'm hurting. I played Denver last week. I was definitely hurting on stage. Because the accident I had definitely screwed up my back a little bit. But you know what? The adrenaline kicks in, man, and nothing else matters. It's all about giving back and getting that vibe from the crowd. Really, it's an energy that between the crowd and us. I live off of that. And I think the crowd lives off of that. So it brings this great thing together. It's a great energy. I love that energy, man.
If I may, since you've mentioned this accident, I don't know how many details you want to give. Or was it a car accident? I mean, did you fall down the stairs?
To be quite honest, and I'll keep it short, I was helping my a friend of mine with the GPS. I was standing between two parked cars, and somebody crashed into one of the parked cars right into me, and I was like crushed between them.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so I mean that's why. Thankfully, and I'll tell you something, man. Thankfully, I'm in halfway decent shape, and whatever you want to say about yoga, it really helped me to get out of that position. Because if I wasn't in halfway decent shape, the doctor said it would have been a whole lot worse. So thankfully, it's okay, and I'm okay.
But nothing broken, no broken kneecap, leg, arm.
No, there's some great bruises. I heard there's a great videotape. But somewhere there's a great videotape that the owner has of the place I was at. But I stay away from it, and I just went to the doctor, blah blah blah. And at the end of the day, man, I have to tour. I can't. Thankfully, it didn't stop me from touring, and I have to get on the road. That was about 3.5 weeks ago. So thankfully, I'm able to tour. So I just get a little adjustment here, and then we're ready to rock.
Wow. Well, that's good, because the last thing we need is another band not performing, canceling. We don't need that. We need rock and roll.
Dude, you're telling me, man. I know. I'm all about it.
I want to ask you about the John Bush era albums, Sound of White Noise, Stomp, Volume 8. We've come from great albums. All have great songs on them,
Thank
from
you.
Fuel to Only to they don't get represented as much in the live show anymore. Is that something that you would like to see change? Is it disappointing to sort of take 10 years out of your career and just say they didn't exist?
No, I don't think, and this is as honest as I can be with you, Mitch. I don't feel like they're being misrepresented at all, because this is that was that Anthrax. I think this is a different Anthrax with a different singer. So I think there's such a catalog, to be really honest, and I'm being really honest with this. Worship music, there's so many songs I still want to play off that record that we can't. There's just no time. Because if you can't take out some of the classics, some of the stuff that people want to hear also that I would like to play, it's a 30-some-odd year career. There's so many songs from the Joey era or John era. There's so many songs even from the Joey era that I still want to play that we can't fit in. And look, here comes another record. And I'm telling everybody right now, not even to hype the record, I'm more excited now to hear this new stuff we have coming out. I can't wait to play, because I found it a great challenge, and I think people are really going to get it, and it's just so much. There's so much energy in the new songs. There's so much. There's just so many songs going off of the band. So I don't feel anything's misrepresented. I think that had its time, and who knows about the future? I don't look too far into the future what we're going to play, because we always do stuff off the cuff. But right now, there's just so much on the plate of songs that we want to play, and you have to make everybody happy also,
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about the position you're in. You've got this catalog that you can pick. I mean, you could do a whole Persistence of Time tour, and people would come up and
exactly.
I don't want to get into to talk that maybe is too negative, but I did interview John Bush recently, and he said that since he's left the band the last time after the 2007 shows that he came and helped you with. He says that you and Charlie haven't spoken to him, haven't called him, and he feels sort of, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but sad about it. And you know, uh,
Well, you know what's funny? No, I love John. I have no issues.
okay,
John is a friend of mine. I love John. I never had that thing. I can speak for me. I have no issues. Quite honestly, to be really honest, I have a family, and when I'm home,
right.
ask everybody. I don't come out of my house. I kind of just stay with my family, and I write songs at home, and I have a side project called Altitude and Attitude that I do,
Yeah.
and that's just what I do. And a lot of my friends, quite honestly, say, "Why don't you call?" It's just one of those things. I think when you have a family and stuff, and you just get in that home cycle off the road, you just kind of close yourself off. And there's no disrespect to anybody. I truly love John Bush, and I love the new Armored Saint record. I told Joey Bello is a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
and I told him I love that record. I think it sounds great. I think John's singing better than ever. I think that's a great band. Absolutely.
Oh, first of all, I do agree. That album is definitely one of the best albums of 2015. And when we get to our top 10 lists at Christmas time, that is going to be on a lot of writers and websites' top 10.
Sure.
And
they're all good, and they're good friends of mine. So I want to see them do well. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I do understand that thing about coming home. Listen, when I'm not doing interviews or whatever, last night we went out for ice cream. I don't phone a friend. I don't. We sort of, that's what you do, right? When you have kids and stuff, you just get into the right. Well, maybe
you're not home. You're not home a lot. So when I get home, all of my time is for I have a 9-year-old son. All my time is for my family, my son, and because you're away so much, and you miss a lot of time, and therefore nothing else matters. When I go home, nothing else matters. And that's just. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is with me.
well, I'm totally with you on that. That's exactly the way it is with me. But hey, who knows? Maybe after we're done today, you can phone him for 5 minutes and say, "Hey, John, how's it going?"
Yeah, I will see John. That's not even an issue. Of course, it's anybody who knows me, I like everybody pretty much. I have no problem.
Okay, good. I found that curious when that was mentioned. Let me get about that project with David Ellefson. You made the one album, EP, I guess it was. What is the work or the plan for that coming up?
Well, we have a record that's just about to be mixed, but with all due respect to our day jobs, we have a Megadeth record and an Anthrax record that need to come out before then, because we don't want to get in the way of our day jobs. Quite honestly, it's total due to respect. And Dave and I have had these songs with Jay Rustin producing. We're very excited about that. But right now, dude. For me, it's all about Anthrax and mixing this record, and that absolutely is the next thing in my life. At the Altitude and Attitude record, I'm so excited about that. The writing, the everything on it, I'm just really excited. It's a continuation of what we did, but it's different in a way, which I'm really excited about. A lot of people are asking about that, so I'm really psyched on that. A lot of people are asking about the Altitude and Attitude, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a great project. I loved what you had done before, and I think we actually interviewed with it, and I also talked to Dave about it. It was definitely well done. I know that we have limited time, both because we all both have things to go run off to in the next 10 minutes. But I just want to ask you about the album. I know from having spoken with people within the band that you have about 18 to 20 songs done.
Yeah.
What's the plan there? Do you whittle it down to the top 10, the top 12? Do you do 2 volumes, like 10 now and 10 in 6 months after? What are the plans to sort of whittle it down to a nice, concise album?
I think you said it right to begin with. I think you whittle it down, and the ones that stand out are standing out. I mean, they're all, look. You don't put anything. There are no fillers. I have to say that right off the bat. Thankfully, there are no fillers. So that's the hard part, but I think that's a good problem to have. There is the issue right now, what songs to put on the record. There are definitely, a lot of them are just showing up, and you say, all right, no brainer. But I like having this problem. It's fun to go through these songs and imagine them as a fan, hearing them for the first time and living with them. The great thing about having no record company breathing down our necks, so just no pressure. It's having this time to really digest and seeing as fans, what we want to do. I think it's a really cool position to be in. So I think that's the way you pick the cream of the crop, but there's a lot of cream, which is great.
Yeah.
It's a good position to be in, and you just want to make the right moves, and you got to be a fan, man, as we are we're in the band, but we're also big fans of this music. So it's really important to us.
How political, if at all, is the decision? Is it like, well, Charlie needs 2 songs and Joey needs 3 and Scott needs none of that? It's really the best music.
Not in this band. No,
Okay.
dude. Everything is agreed on from day one. Everybody know. You know what's funny, man? I think it's like being married for 30-something years, right? Everybody kind of knows. You know what I mean? You just know the next move. We all have the same idea of what we are. And I think that shows itself. And you hear that in Anthrax records. It's from everybody in the band. When you hear an Anthrax record, that's from everybody in the band.
Okay. And that's the way it should be. So then,
it should, of course.
What is the plan? Because as far as I can tell, there's no announced release date. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't seen
Well,
it.
we're looking at January. We're looking at probably the end of January. That's what we're looking at right now. And that seems right now because we're in mixing right now.
Okay.
Everything is leading to that. There's no reason to rush. We need time to set up the record and make people know that the record's coming out and understand, maybe release a single along the way, or before that, but, just for a song, whatever, a little taste. But it's all good. Everybody's in sync right now. Our management, our record company, we have to make sure we make the right moves, really, just to be smart. You can't just throw something out there without it being promoted, because I think the record and the fans, quite honestly, deserve that.
Yeah, so it's definitely a 2016 release. That's a given. Okay, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Early 2016, very early 2016.
Okay, and then of course a tour to support it and the whole shebang.
And it's crazy, Mitch. We start with Motörhead on Friday, right? We don't stop. We're pretty much booked until December, and then the record comes out. So we go out with Slayer after Motorboat. We go to Japan for one show for Lafon, and then we go to Europe for 7 weeks with Slayer, which is a great tour that's selling out apparently from what I'm hearing. So it's really. It's all one, now the fun starts on Friday.
Yeah, not a bad way to spend the fall, right? I mean, touring with Motörhead and then touring with Slayer, and of course them touring with you, because Anthrax is no slouch either. I mean,
Thank you. Yeah, as a fan, just again as a fan of these bands, for me, and again, I'm a bass player who's a fan of this music, and thankful enough to I'm getting to see these shows. I get to see Motörhead, I get to see Lemmy play and sing, all that stuff again. And then get my boy Slayer, good friends with those guys. So it's a good thing, and it's nice to set up the record like this,
Yeah, it really is. And hopefully you'll come back for a proper North American tour with
one
of these bands, or who knows, maybe a Metallica opening slot would be fantastic too.
Dude, if you can put that through, let me know. But there's a lot of good talk. It's funny, Mitch, there's a lot of good talk for next year already, because the new record's coming out, in the new cycle. So there's a lot of good ideas that are going around for bands playing together, which is great. And promoters are talking about. So nothing's signed yet, but there's a lot of nice ideas that and I think you'd be excited about.
Yeah, I'm going to be.
And the fans.
I'm already excited about the Motörhead Anthrax show next week. So we'll finish with this. Musically, you're very excited about the new album. There's no title for it yet. Where would you sort of put this in terms of your catalog? Is it more of a State of Euphoria sound? Is it more Spreading Disease? Is it more Volume 8? Or is it sort of like everything? It's just Anthrax, period.
I have to say it's Anthrax. If you like worship music, which a lot of people did, thankfully.
Yes, it was great.
And it's not even to hype it. And I don't want to sound like I'm overhyping this record. I'm just a fan who's excited because I think we tapped into something really cool in our writing. So I think it's the step up from worship. I have to say that. I just think we're in a good groove. There's some fast songs. There's some Belladonna, Joey singing better than ever. Scott's, the playing, all good, man. It's just a really cool time, man.
Yeah, and by the way, there's nothing wrong overhyping your album. As a fan and as a reporter, that's what I want to hear. Some guy who says, well, we did the best we could, and Yeah.
No, I can't do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You
No,
gotta be excited.
I'm super excited. I can't let out something I'm just not excited about. I couldn't do that. Yeah, I couldn't live in the band like that.
Yeah.
So I have to say it as a fan to play these songs. It gets me going. Like the Fire in the Belly we talked about before, dude. That is on this record. That is on this record. That's why I'm psyched about it.
Yeah, good. And I'm glad to hear that. And then last thing, Joey Belladonna in the last like 5 years has said, "Oh, I don't think the guys in Anthrax like me." And then Scott said, "Of course we like you." There's been this sort of weird melodrama being played out via the internet. How is Joey in the band now? Is he loved?
Dude, believe everything you read on the internet.
Of course. Why don't you?
Come on, man. We're on the road. I mean, I see more Joey Belladonna and the band than I do my family.
Right.
You know, and Joey's a jokester too. Remember that.
Right.
He's a good ball buster. So one of those lines could just be brought out. And dude, of course, we're together all the time. So I think everything is running pretty smoothly. You know what I mean?
Seems to be. Seems to be perfect. I mean,
so when I say that, when I hear that, I find it laughable because guess what? This Sunday, I know I'm going to be, where am I, Detroit? Guess where I'll be? On the tour bus watching football with Joey Belladonna.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I find that funny when I hear that. That's all. But rest assured, it's good.
Yeah, it just must have been strange when you go on to one of the sites and you see Joey says, you must go, what the hell's this? Like, what are you talking about?
The funny thing is being, when he reads it and like we all read it together and we just start laughing. What the fuck was that? You know? Sorry for cursing. I wasn't supposed to curse, but
no, that's fine.
I said, I said, we just all laughed. What was that? And we started laughing. Yeah, and of course it's said out of context and hilarious. We just laugh at it, dude. It's all good.
All right,
remember, this is 30-something years of the same stuff. Come on, it's all been.
So he's going to get a Christmas present from you this year.
Oh yeah, we'll probably be on tour together for Christmas.
There you go. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Frankie, always a pleasure.
Same here, Mitch. Thank you for waiting. I appreciate your time, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, looking forward to that show on the 18th. It's going to be a great weekend for me. I got Anthrax and Motörhead on the Friday, and then the Scorpions with Queensryche on the Saturday.
Cool.
That you cannot beat that. That's
another good show, man. Good.
That's
good.
a great weekend. Thank you for your time. Hope you're feeling better, of course, and try not to get crushed between any other cars between now and next week.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Talk to you then.
Bye, Mitch.
Bye-bye. There you have it, folks. My interview with Anthrax's Frank Bello. So very excited for that new album. I'd also like to thank John Bush in the first part of this episode. Win hands down their new album. I would love at some point, and Mark, you might agree, can't we just get Armored Saint and Anthrax to do some kind of, march across the state, across the states tour? I mean, wouldn't that be cool to see those two guys?
I would love to see that. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So who knows? Hopefully they'll consider it. You get the Saint to open up, Anthrax to close. Maybe convince John to come out and do a duet with Joe. Who knows? But I think those two bands together would work great. And I think the fans would just get such a kick out of it to see those guys all together. Hell, throw a Volbeat on the bill and have Rob play. Let's make it an Anthrax family picnic. There you go.
I would love that. Yeah.
Let's remind the folks, I can be found at Mitch Lafon on Twitter, One-on-One with Mitch on Facebook. We're all part of the Talking Metal Digital Network. Mark, of course, does Talking Metal. Where else can we find you?
Yeah, Twitter at Talking Metal is the handle. We got the Talking Metal Facebook page. Please give it a like. And I know a lot of your people, Mitch, your listeners, listen to the show right off of the Spreaker page, but we do also post it on talkingmetal.com in the one-on-one section. And one thing that's kind of cool about that is you occasionally get photos of Mitch with the people he's interviewing, or just even the latest press photos and stuff like that. Like with the Michael Wilton episode, we have some brand new press pics up that the Century Media people sent over of Michael and Queensryche. And it's always a fun place to go to listen to the show. And also read the show notes, and you get Mitch types them up, and he has all the places you can connect with the people that are on the show, and you do a great job with the show notes. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
And speaking of show notes, I guess we should probably mention in the show notes from now on. Head over to iTunes. Go like Mark's show, Talking Metal. Go like the show that we do with Mitch Joel, Metal Raps, and of course, like One on One with Mitch Lafon. Those are very important in raising our profile within the iTunes community, I guess it would be the word for it. And, that gives us more exposure and so on and so forth, which permits us to bring more of these shows to you, more good interviews. And there you go. And of course, Mark and I have this plan to take over the world, right? So
Yeah,
we're
we're
working
talking
on it.
about it. Yeah. We
We're,
got baby steps, but we'll get there.
right. We'll take over New Jersey and then work our way west, I guess.
Right. Sounds like a plan.
Until we circle around the globe back to Jersey, going over Europe and Asia. But there you go. Again, thank you, Mark. Thank you to John Bush. Thank you to Frank Bello. Again, check out Win Hands Down. Buy a ticket to go see Anthrax on tour. Listen to Mark's show. There you go. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.